So you've probably spent ages learning English grammar and vocabulary, right? But have you ever noticed there's a whole other set of rules, the unwritten ones? These are the things that make the difference between just knowing the words and actually truly speaking the language. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secrets to a natural English conversation.
Ah, yes, this one. We've all been there. This phrase is probably the first thing anyone learns in an English class. And look, it's polite, it's grammatically perfect, but let's be real. Nobody actually talks like this. It sounds, I don't know, robotic? You know that feeling, right? That little bit of stiffness where the conversation just doesn't flow? That's the gap. It's the space between textbook English and the real, messy, fast-paced English people use every single day. So how do we cross that gap?
And boom, here it is. This slide perfectly shows what we're aiming for today. We want to get you from the left side to the right side, from just sounding correct to sounding totally natural. And we're going to do it in 5 levels, starting right now.
Okay, level 1. Let's start right at the beginning. The greeting. This is your first impression, your first chance to set a natural, friendly vibe for the whole conversation.
What's so cool about this is that it shows how context is literally everything. You know, if you're meeting a friend for coffee, you're going to say, "Hey, what's up?" or "How's it going?" But if you're walking into a job interview, you'll probably go with, "It's a pleasure to meet you." Picking the right opener isn't just about the words. It shows you actually get the social situation.
All right, you've nailed the opener. You said hello, now what? Well, you've got to build a bridge to the main conversation. And that bridge, my friends, is built with small talk.
Now here's the key thing to understand. Small talk isn't really about the weather or sports or whatever the topic is. That's not the point. The point is the connection. It's like a little social handshake, a way of saying, "Hey, I'm friendly," before you dive into the really important stuff.
So, small talk is doing a few different jobs here. First, it opens the door to the conversation. Second, it fills those potentially awkward silences and just kind of keeps the engine running. And finally, it gives you a smooth, friendly way to end the chat. It's basically the social lubricant that keeps our conversations from getting stuck.
Let's level up again. So now you need some tools, right? Think of these as a conversational toolkit, a bunch of super useful phrases that can help you handle almost anything that comes your way.
These phrases are your absolute best friends. They're like the Swiss Army knives of conversation. Instead of the chat just dying when you don't understand something, you can say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." And boom, the flow continues. And oh man, learning to say, "I see your point but," is a huge step. It lets you disagree without sounding rude, which is a massive skill.
All right, get ready, because this next level might just blow your mind. It probably goes against everything you've ever been taught in English class. We are talking about filler words. I'm serious. For years, teachers have told us that saying and makes us sound like we don't know what we're talking about. But what if I told you they're not mistakes at all? What if they're actually a really clever and totally natural part of speaking?
Think about it like this. For a computer, for an ASR system, its only goal is to get a command. So when it hears something like it sees it as, well, junk. It's noise that it has to filter out to understand the real message, which is book a train to Paris. For a machine, is an error. But for us humans, it's a completely different story.
And this is the secret. To another person, that isn't noise at all. It's a signal. All this psycholinguistic research basically shows that our brains are smart enough to use these little sounds as cues. They help us get ready for what the speaker is about to say next. So what are these signals? Well, an or an can mean, "Hang on, I'm thinking here." It buys you a second to find the perfect word. It can also make a statement sound a little softer, less direct. And sometimes it's a flag to the listener that says, "Okay, pay attention, a new or kind of complex idea is coming up." They're not mistakes, they're strategy. We're here, the final level. You got your opener, your small talk, your toolkit, and you even know the secret power of filler words. Now it's time for the finishing touch, the thing that adds personality and flavor. It's time to speak in color, and we do that with idioms. Okay, imagine you have this huge project at work you've been dreading. You can't avoid it. A textbook might say, "I must now face this difficult task." But a native speaker, they just sigh and say, "All right, I guess it's time to bite the bullet." It just perfectly captures that feeling, you know? This one is so fun. If your friend is an actor about to go on stage, you actually wouldn't say "good luck." It's considered bad luck in the theater world. Instead, you tell them to break a leg. It's a perfect example of that kind of secret code that native speakers use, where the real meaning has nothing to do with the actual words.
So, after you've bitten the bullet on that work project and your friend has broken a leg on stage, you're just completely wiped out. You're not going to announce, "I am now retiring to my bed." No way. You just say, "Okay, guys, I'm going to hit the sack." These little phrases are what make you sound like you don't just speak English, you live in it.
Okay, so let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. What's the big takeaway from all this?
Here's the most important thing to remember. Real conversation isn't about memorizing a giant list of rules. It's much more like a dance. It's this back and forth between people using all these tools we talked about: the perfect greeting, the right amount of small talk, those strategic little ums, and a few colorful idioms to really connect. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. We started this whole thing talking about the gap between the classroom and real life. But maybe the real difference between knowing a language and truly speaking it isn't about how many words you know, but how you use those words to build a connection with another human being. And that, right there, is the real art of conversation.